After you finish your bead embroidery, you do need to put a backing on it. Sometimes you need to put something in between the beaded piece and the backing, but ultimately you need to edge it. Bring all of these pieces together, the front piece and the back piece, and often encase a little piece of felt or interfacing in the middle to give it some support. The stitch I like to use the most, because it's a very neat, easy stitch, is a beaded brick stitch edging. You can use other kinds of fancy edgings. You'll be able to find all kinds of tutorials on those, but today I'm just going to look at a simple beaded brick stitch edging. You can see on this piece that this has been edged, this panel of beading has been edged with brick stitch, and so has the cuff itself. You can use any kind of seed bead. You can even use crystals if you like, although I prefer not to edge in crystals. That does mean that you've got quite a bulky edge, and I like the edges on my pieces to be neat and trim. Okay, let's get started. What I've done here is I've used two pieces of interfacing, and this signifies the top beading piece of your work, and this is the backing, whatever it might be. It might be felt or ultra suede. I've attached just by running a stitch from the back to the front and over again, and I've got the thread facing towards me at the front of the work. So I've just done a little over stitch here, over sewn the edge. Okay, when you start a brick stitch edging, what you need to do firstly is pick up two beads. I'm going to use the bronze 8s again, but you can use 8s, 11s, 15s, and as I said, you can even use different coloured, different shapes of beads, such as a crystal. I personally prefer to use a seed bead. Place the needle into the fabric along the edge, about the width of one bead. If you're working with 8s, make it the width of an 8, and if you're working with 11s, make it the width of an 11, and so on. Bring the needle up through the center of the second bead. Gently pull the thread through, and your two beads should be sitting side by side, beginning to make a nice edge. From this point on, you'll only be using one bead. Place the needle into the fabric about one bead's width away from the first bead. Sit them nicely up onto the edge. Bring the needle up through the middle of the last bead that you added and gently pull. You'll feel the bead sitting into the edge of your fabric. I'll do it one more time. Pick up a bead, the needle through the fabric, one bead's width. If you're right-handed, it will be to the left. If you're left-handed, you'll be beading to the right. And one more. And that's it. You're beginning to get a nice beaded edge. If you look at the back, you can see the stitches, so try and pick a thread that matches your backing fabric, and those stitches will be invisible. I'll show you what they look like on the back. As you can see, I've used ultra suede on the back of this cuff, and you can't see the thread at all. It's simply disappeared into the back of the ultra suede. On the little button, you can see the stitches appearing on the blue, but because it will be against the fabric of my coat, you won't really ever have a chance to look at the back of that. Okay guys, that is really all there is to a beaded brick stitch edging.